Along a deserted New York street, the camera lingers on an empty road. Henry works the night shift as a toll booth operator. His face looks handsome but cold. His eyes stay blank, showing no direction. Streetlights and passing cars no longer interest him. He waits for his shift to end. When night ends, Henry walks home with the same distant stride. He reaches his house where Debbie, his wife, has prepared breakfast. They greet each other. Henry asks about her work for the day. Debbie talks about their cousin's child and says she wants them to visit. From this talk, Debbie's wish for a child of their own becomes clear. Henry gives no serious answer. He does not dislike children but feels no need to have one. Debbie, close to despair, asks if Henry still loves her. Henry says he does, but his words sound flat and without emotion. The mood grows heavy until the doorbell rings. Debbie stays seated, still waiting for comfort. Henry opens the door. Eddie, an old friend, stands there with Joe, who is drunk and vomiting. They bring Joe inside. Debbie, a nurse, checks his condition. Eddie explains they had planned a baseball game but need a player because Joe is sick. Eddie asks Henry to join. Henry first refuses, saying he must talk with Debbie. To avoid tension, he finally agrees. On the way, Eddie stops at an ATM for cash and tells Henry to wait in the car. Sitting in the driver's seat, Henry notices something odd. The engine runs with wires instead of a key, a sign the car is stolen. His suspicion proves right. Eddie and two other men are not going to a baseball game. They plan to rob a bank. They pull on masks and show their weapons. At the same time, Frank, a bank security guard, leaves a cafe when the bank alarm sounds. Seeing Eddie's clothing similar to Henry's, Frank approaches the car with his gun drawn. Eddie abandons Henry, leaving him confused. Henry raises his hands and surrenders. Freeze! During interrogation, Henry refuses to give Eddie's name. The police find this strange since Henry has a wife waiting for him, but he stays silent. The prosecutor declares him guilty, and Henry accepts the verdict calmly, even glancing at Debbie as if nothing can shake him. After sentencing, Henry is sent to prison, where he shares a cell with Max, a calm and seasoned inmate. They introduce themselves and quickly become friendly. The next day, Max explains the unspoken rules of prison life and introduces Henry to other inmates. During a meal, Max asks Henry about his dreams. Henry says he has none. Max finds this strange, saying life without a dream is empty. 6 months later, Debbie visits Henry with a cold expression. She brings bitter news. She plans to marry Joe, the man once involved in the robbery. Henry reacts with a small smile and no anger. He says he wants her to be happy. Time moves on. After a year, Henry grows used to life behind bars. Max remains a steady source of comfort and advice. During a conversation, the prisoners reveal they all know Henry is innocent. Max even says Henry might as well commit the crime, since he is already serving the sentence. The idea lingers in Henry's mind. That night Henry asks Max about his own dream. Max says he has already achieved it by living a peaceful life in prison. Henry is puzzled, but Max explains that without a dream, life inside or outside feels the same. Finally, Henry's parole day arrives. He says goodbye to Max with a calm face and walks out with no clear destination. Max tells him he is glad to have known him and hopes never to see him back inside. After leaving prison, Henry wanders until he reaches his old home, now occupied by Joe and Debbie. The meeting is awkward. Joe greets Henry like a guest. When Debbie comes out, Henry is startled to see she is pregnant. To avoid tension, Henry drinks the beer offered to him and goes to the shed to collect his belongings. When Debbie and Joe step outside to see him off, Joe thanks Henry for keeping quiet about the robbery. Henry replies with dry sarcasm that he had not even known Joe's name at the time. With no job, Henry stays home and looks at photos from his youth. A TV commercial catches his attention and sparks an idea. Later, he stands in front of the bank that changed his life and recalls Max's words. If he was punished for a crime he did not commit, he might as well commit it. This is Henry's crime. Haunted by that thought, Henry crosses the street and is struck by a car. The driver, Julie, jumps out, scolds him, and checks if he is hurt. Frank, the bank security guard, sees the commotion, recognizes Henry, and brings him to a nearby cafe. After confirming Henry is fine, Frank leaves them alone. Henry recognizes Julie from the commercial he once saw, and she explains she is on her way to rehearsal for the Cherry Orchard at a nearby theater. Since he is unhurt, Henry lets her go. Later, while in the restroom, Henry notices a framed newspaper article describing a secret tunnel that once connected the same theater where Julie rehearses to the bank that ruined his life. He studies every word and starts to consider a robbery. Seeking change, Henry returned to the prison to see Max. He told Max he finally had a dream. Since he had served time for a robbery he never committed, he now wanted to commit one for real. Max was shocked. He refused to help, saying prison was his home and he had no wish to leave to commit a crime. Henry argued that prison was not a home and insisted he needed Max's help. Max still refused and walked away. Henry pressed on alone. He scouted the bank and slipped into the theater to watch Julie rehearse. Inside, the director Derek harshly criticized Julie's performance and dismissed her effort. Upset, Julie left the rehearsal and ran into Henry outside. Henry followed Julie to a cafe, and they began to talk. Julie shared that the Cherry Orchard would be her last show in the city because she planned to leave soon. Before parting, she paid for Henry's coffee to thank him for not pressing charges after their earlier accident. Meanwhile, Max unexpectedly applied for release and received parole. When he stepped out of prison, Henry was waiting. Max hesitated, unsure of his decision as he looked at Henry's calm face. Soon after, Henry took Max to the cafe where he had found the old article. Max noted that the map Henry showed him was at least 80 years old. Henry explained they would avoid weapons so no one would get hurt and added that the bank's layout had likely changed, so they needed to inspect it themselves. When they visited the bank, Max gathered details that confirmed the building's long history, which convinced them the tunnel might still exist. They did not notice Frank, the bank security guard, watching and growing suspicious. Later, Henry and Max went to the back door of the theater to estimate the tunnel's location. Julie caught them and demanded an explanation. Max quickly pretended to be an aging actor who had performed there years ago. Julie believed the story and let them inside. While inside, Julie asked Max about the play he claimed to have performed in. Max hesitated but was saved when theater manager Simon entered. Max used the moment to request a tour of the theater. Simon agreed and casually confirmed that a tunnel once existed and now connected to the dressing room used by the actor playing Lopakin. Meanwhile, Henry and Julie grew closer. Henry revealed that he had recently been released from prison. When Derek and the crew arrived, Henry left but asked Julie to have dinner with him after rehearsal. She agreed. That night, they met at a Chinese restaurant. Over dinner, Julie shared her goals, and their conversation deepened their connection. During the outing, she invited Henry to visit the dam with her, where he suddenly revealed his plan to rob the bank near the theater. Julie thought he was joking.
Rob the bank that you already went to jail for robbing?
Yeah.
The next day, Henry invited Julie to his place, where she met Max. Max tried to keep up his old actor act, but Julie quickly saw through it since Henry had already told her the truth. Max protested, but Henry ignored him when Julie promised she would stay quiet. Over breakfast, Julie mentioned the robbery again. Henry and Max admitted their plan, yet she did not report them. A moment later, Julie and Henry acted out a scene for fun, and Julie noted that Henry had natural talent despite no training. When Julie left, Max asked for a ride, saying he had started volunteering at the theater. While watching Julie rehearse, Max suggested casting Henry as Lopakin so they could access the dressing room. Henry refused at first, but Max repeated Julie's comment about his talent and convinced him. Soon after, Derek argued with the actor playing Lopakin, and the actor quit. Julie, surprised by the fight, headed to her car but was stopped by Max. He proposed that she cast Henry. Julie suspected Max had stirred trouble but agreed to let Henry audition to keep the show alive. That evening Henry auditioned for Derek and Julie. He struggled at first but kept trying. In the end, he gave the performance Derek wanted and was offered the role.
You piece of shit! Not bad, Julie. Give me...
The next day, Derek introduced Henry as the new Lopakin, and the cast welcomed him. With official access to the dressing room, Henry and Max began their plan. They broke through a wall to reach the tunnel but found it filled with sand, so they needed more help. Henry then recruited Joe, who was drunk and desperate after losing his job and money. Joe wanted to use a gun and force entry through the bank's front door, but Max persuaded him to follow a safer method. From then on, the three worked together to clear the tunnel while Henry continued performing. The plan went well as they slowly removed the sand. But everything changed when Frank, already suspicious, discovered what they were doing. Frank did not report them. Instead, he asked to join. He explained that years earlier the bank had denied him a loan when his wife was gravely ill, and she died as a result. He wanted revenge and a chance to experience a robbery once in his life. To show he was serious, Frank explained that the bank's alarm would trigger if anything unusual happened. With his inside knowledge, he could help them from within. Soon after, rehearsals for the play grew tense as Derek repeatedly scolded Julie and insulted her in front of the cast. Seeing her distress, Henry comforted her, and they shared a kiss. Trouble soon followed. Joe, drunk again, revealed the robbery plan to Eddie, Henry's old friend. Eddie demanded to join but refused to help with the digging. Max was furious but accepted his presence since the secret was already exposed. The next day Henry and Max returned to the theater for rehearsal, yet Henry's resolve began to weaken. He realized he would lose the life he had now if he went through with the heist. While digging later, Max sensed Henry's hesitation. Henry admitted he wanted to quit. Max grew angry, reminding him that he had left prison to help with this plan. He insisted they had come too far to back out. Henry finally agreed to finish the job. That night Henry told Julie he would leave on opening night after the robbery. Julie, already aware of his plan, was furious that he would abandon the performance. When Henry asked her to meet him in California afterward, she grew even angrier. She accused him of caring nothing for the future she was risking on the play and told him to leave for good. Opening night arrived. The Cherry Orchard was about to begin. Before the show, Derek encouraged the cast to impress the audience. The actors responded with energy, but Henry felt only guilt. As the play unfolded, Henry's regret deepened as he watched Julie perform with brilliance. At the same time, Frank, stationed inside the bank, gave the signal. Max disabled the alarm, and Frank covered his tracks. With the system off, Eddie and Joe moved to open the vault. They breached the vault and began filling bags with cash. During Henry's turn on stage, chaos erupted. Eddie betrayed them, striking Max to steal the money. Henry rushed back, but Joe attacked Eddie, and in the struggle Henry was shot. Max, still able to fight, overpowered Eddie and knocked him out. Max left Eddie unconscious in the tunnel and escaped with Joe and the money. On the road Henry told them to stop. He realized the money meant nothing and that Julie was what he truly wanted. Without hesitation, he turned back toward the theater, leaving Max and Joe to flee with the cash. Henry arrived as the play neared its final scene. Limping, he ran on stage, startling Julie and the cast. The other actors tried to steer the story back, but Henry refused. Julie ordered him to leave, then froze as Henry declared his feelings. He asked her to meet him in Moscow. The audience, first confused, was drawn in by the emotion and began urging Julie to go with him. In the closing moments, Henry and Julie kissed as the curtain fell. So the moral of the story is, if life already punishes you for something you did not do, maybe just stick to theater and coffee instead of chasing a real robbery, because crime never fixes boredom.